Hello Mavericks, this is Imri and welcome to today's currency recap. It is Thursday, November 30th. We have 1 month to go until the end of the year. How crazy is that? Well, in today's currency recap, we'll be doing a review of the trading day. We'll be going over any meaningful news from the day, going over the broader equity markets, some commodity analysis as well. We're then going to take a look at the current market. We're going to be doing some technical analysis on the S&P 500. We'll be looking at our currency baskets, as well as this week's major news reports. And then finally, we're going to close things off by looking at some trade setups and opportunities in the currency markets. In this currency recap, we will be using some advanced technical analysis. We believe technical analysis is the fundamental skill for every profitable Forex and crypto trader. Maverick Currencies is currently hiring serious technical traders for a trader position. Traders will trade firm capital and keep 70 to 80% of the profits. If you're a technical trader with a technically based trading system, we want to meet you. Click the application link in the description below this video. Now let's break down today's market action. Market analysis. Okay, so news of the day. November, even though we drifted off slightly like in the S&P and the NASDAQ today, November still ended with a big rally in stocks. And although we did drift lower, the S&P, we had a really nice comeback today as well. The dollar also found a month-end bid. So today, stocks up slightly, nothing too impressive one way or the other. Crypto down slightly, gold down slightly, and oil down big after or off the heels of this morning's OPEC summit report. So we're seeing some production cuts in oil. I believe it's somewhere around a billion barrels. That sounds like a lot. I'm actually not sure that it was 1 million barrels per day of extra supply cuts. So crude oil, big intraday reversal. We were up like 2% and then we reversed that completely, which is crazy to see. Over in the currency markets, interesting day. Loonie, biggest winner on the day, and that's the Canadian dollar. However, the other commodity currencies, the Aussie and the Kiwi, did well too, but so did the US dollar. The yen, the euro, and the pound, all losers, and the Swiss franc more or less flat on the day. As far as cryptocurrencies go, the biggest loser was Litecoin, but on a percentage basis, Bitcoin Cash, ETH, all hanging in there. Whether you're down, 1/3% or up 0.7%, it's not really a big deal as far as cryptocurrency is concerned. But I do see some signs perhaps that we're at least putting in a tradable top here, or I guess not tradable since we can't go short since we don't have margin here at IB, which is our broker of choice. But, we do have tops in place, or topping, I should say, which means that it's not a bad idea to lock in some gains if you have any in crypto and wait for another buying opportunity. That's my game plan personally. I'm taking some off the table. I'm not exiting everything, but I'm taking some off the table in anticipation of being able to buy some at cheaper prices soon. The market outlook, we're back at +3. The only missing ingredient was this 2050 moving average slope, and although it's a very slight upward slope in the 50-period moving average, it is upwardly sloping, so we have to give the market a +3. And we're looking at this chart of the S&P 500. That big level that everyone's keeping an eye on is 4606, 4607, prior top from July. If we can take that out, that'll be a very bullish sign indeed. I do believe we will take out that top. I do think we will have further upside, but I also think we're overdue for a pullback here. So I'm not so sure whether we're going to get a December Santa Claus rally. I think the Santa Claus rally came a couple months early. It started towards the end of October, but it really happened for most of November. November was an epic month for the market. So I do think we're going to get a pullback soon. I do think that pullback is going to present good buying opportunities in equities. As far as news goes, right, so to close out the day tomorrow, we do have some manufacturing news. Look at that, because that could be a market mover depending on whether we come in far above or below consensus. And then we have comments from Fed Chair Powell as well in the in the late morning to early afternoon. So keep an eye out for that as well. Although I don't think Powell's going to have anything too crazy to say, but if he does let an off-the-cuff comment slip, then we could see some fireworks potentially. But I doubt it. I think he'll keep things pretty even key. Moving on now into some currency analysis. All right, so on the velocity scale, we've got two commodity currencies leading the way. That's the Canadian dollar and the New Zealand dollar. And on the opposite side of that spectrum, we have the yen and the euro. Now, the pound, the Aussie, dollar, and the Swissy all hovering between -1 and +1. But when we look at the currency baskets, we're going to dip into a little bit more detail as far as what those velocity scores actually mean in context of the price charts. Crypto, not much to say here. Litecoin, Ethereum, and Bitcoin all at 0, and Bitcoin Cash -2. All right, so keep this in mind because now we're going to take a look at those currency baskets as we gear up for some potential trading opportunities. So the yen at -3, not much of a surprise that a -3 velocity score. This drop is pretty sharp. Frankly, I think we're still in store for some broader yen weakness. I think we have maybe one more push down before we get a bottom here. What would be ideal? Maybe some ping pong action here within this triangle, and a breakdown would be great to see. So I'm still looking to sell the yen on rallies, and with the yen having been strong a little bit, this week against some of the yen crosses, there are some good opportunities there. I think Aussie yen shaping up nicely, Canada yen potentially shaping up nicely as well. The dollar bid today, but this does not look like a very strong rally to me. Okay, so if I'm pulling up some moving averages, we're on a 4-hour chart here, you can see that we're still between the 20 and 50 period moving average. Also, if I wanted to draw a trend line like so, you can see how we're respecting that trend line really well. I'm still expecting further dollar weakness. I think we're going to break below the 2023 important low of July, and then potentially the February low as well. So just keep that in mind. We can even draw this trend line in the basket connecting those two lows and wait. I think it's a bit premature, obviously, to be targeting that low, but my theory is that over the next year, we're going to see major dollar weakness. Okay, next up is the Swissy. The Swissy I don't like. I know it was bullish today as far as momentum goes, but this structure to me looks like a bearish continuation pattern, not a bullish pattern. Okay, so I personally don't want to buy the Swissy. I don't like how we challenged this high here and then came right back down. If we trade through that high once more, I'll change my tune. But so long as we're in the confines of this parallel channel here, I'm eventually expecting a break below the channel and then a test of the late September, early October lows. So I think over the next few weeks, some good opportunities to short the Swissy. Now the euro and the Swissy are never too far apart, and given the larger reversal in the euro, it's possible the Swiss franc's just lagging the euro a little bit. So I think the euro is coming into oversold conditions. There is some some demand for the euro down here. So that would be where we were trading towards the end of October. I wouldn't be surprised to see a little bit of a bounce here, followed by another round of decline. Pound, I've been calling for a bearish pound for some time now, and it has surprised a little bit by trading through this resistance area, but the price action is not very strong, and it's still looking like it's corrective price action, which is eventually going to roll over. So I'm still inclined to be short the pound. It's just a matter of waiting for the right setup, and especially against the right currency. Canadian dollar, still bearish the loonie. Notwithstanding today's bullish price action, I think it's almost finished. And when it is finished, we're going to go back to where we were in early 2023. So I think some decent opportunity to short the Canadian dollar as well. The Australian dollar, it's an interesting duck. So what's interesting about the Aussie is that we have all this support down here, right? Going back to October 2020, this has been a very strong area of support, and we've bounced from it. When I'm looking at the headwinds facing a lot of the things that normally affect the Australian dollar, such as China's economic health, global demand for commodities, I see headwinds, but the price action has me somewhat bullish, actually. So If I'm looking at the most recent trend line connecting the last two swing points, you can see how we're trying to break out. If we can get back above this trend line over the next few trading sessions, I'll be bullish the Aussie again. On the other hand, if we break below the supporting trend line, then I'm going to turn neutral, and I'm only going to be bearish if we can break below the support. So I think the risk in the Aussie is skewed to the upside, meaning the risk reward is far better playing the Aussie long than playing the Aussie short. Not too dissimilar with the New Zealand dollar as far as where I think the risk is skewed. What's interesting is that we've got a pretty convincing breakout here. So I'm looking to buy the New Zealand dollar on pullbacks now. And given the correlation between the Australian dollar and the New Zealand dollar, I'd be surprised if the Aussie doesn't benefit as well. But it's possible that the Kiwi outperforms the Australian dollar. Finally, we're going to wrap things up with crypto. Here's what I don't like about crypto. Tremendous bearish divergences. That's why I'm taking some profits off the table here. And given this wedge-like formation that we're trading in, I think it's very possible that we get a top of some kind and we could see prices travel. I'd expect at least back to where we were towards late October. So if we give up a month's worth of gains, it wouldn't surprise me in the least. But again, I think that's likely going to lead to another buying opportunity. All right, traders. So in conclusion, as always, so important to play relative strength and weakness. A lot of the coaching sessions I've had recently, traders are asking me about entries. What's a good entry? What's a good entry? And I say, well, let's worry less about the entry. Let's worry more about making sure what it is you want to trade is actually the right currency pairing, right? And it all comes down to relative strength and weakness. And equally important is paying attention to proper position sizing and, of course, always following your trading plan. Thank you, traders. That's it from me. I'll see you guys next week. Bye for now.